Hello, future chartered accountant. Hello, future chartered accountant. You are welcome back to my YouTube channel. Thank you so much for stopping by today. Please, if you are new here, kindly hit the subscribe button. To my returning subscribers, thank you so much for always stopping by. On this channel, I'll be teaching you everything you need to ace your ICAN exams. I'll be preparing you and preparing with you concerning the exams coming up, right? So I'll teach you everything that you need everything that you need to prepare for your exams. So we're going to be discussing them on this channel, okay? So please hit the subscribe button and turn on the notification bell so that you get updates of my new videos. So today's class is basically a continuation of the former class. In the previous class, we did an introduction. I explained everything to you. We did basically lay the foundation. That's just the summary. Please don't neglect the introductory video. Please watch it because it's going to help you a lot. Foundation is very, very good in everything. Do you understand? So without much ado, let's dive into today's video. So like I said earlier, today we're talking about financial data analysis, but we'll be taking a practical example and it's a continuation of the previous class, right? So we talked about we'll be using November 2019 to explain or talking about it, and we're going to be doing the practical example on November 2019 night as well. So I this is the requirement two. We have discussed all about it in the previous video. We're just going to be doing practical here, right? So this was what we're given. An assessment, we're asked to do an assessment of the contract supply service as contained in exhibits 10 and 11. And we're also required to critically evaluate the proposed strategic business opportunity in installation of meat processing plant by DFFP, which is Detoy Farm Products, right, as contained in Exhibit 12, and discuss broader commercial and ethical considerations as well as risks that may be associated with accepting or venturing into these business proposals. Like I said, when we're talking about financial statement analysis, please, if you have not watched that video, please watch it as well because it's very, very important. Financial statement analysis is 32 marks. Financial data analysis is also 32 marks. So please, those two classes and executive summary, if you have not watched my video in executive summary, please do that. Those three topics, those three sections, the every section matters. Let's clarify that, right? But you see, executive summary is 20 marks. Financial statement analysis is 32 marks and financial data analysis is 32 marks. So please, those three sections, please don't joke with it. Take it very, very like take it personal. So if you have not watched those videos, please ensure you watch. It's going to help you a lot. So the first thing I said was when you have a requirement, first of all, what write out your requirements. That's the first step because so you will not miss marks that you could have just gotten cheaply. Do you understand? Marks that you could have just gotten without stress, right? So write out your requirements. What are the requirements? What are they asking you to do? So in this case, they told us to assess the contract supply service and they told us to assess the proposed business opportunity, which is the installation of the meat processing plants, right? And the reason why you are actually writing out this requirement so that when you are actually preparing your report, you wouldn't you can even tick it off. Okay, I've done this. You understand? I've also done this. Now, this is requirements two. But then this is like requirements two and three. Because in requirements two, we are doing two different things. We are looking at two different projects, right? So that you won't mix them up, you won't forget some things. And when you are wrapping up and doing your final touches and you're crossing your T's, dotting your I's, you'll be able to check your list just like you have what your audit checklists, right? That's for this one. Let's not go into that. But you have like a list of things that you're supposed to do. So as you're taking them off the list, you'll be able to know what you have not done and what you are actually done, what you have done and what you have not done, right? So writing all these requirements will guide you and you will not miss out on any requirement. So that's just basically the reason why you're writing requirement. Nobody's going to mark it. It's just basically for you. So first of all, we have to coin a heading. Abby, we have to coin a heading from the combination of all these requirements. So this is the requirement, right? So let's coin a heading from it. And I coined one. I said the assessment of the contract supply service and installation of the meat processing plant. Because we're assessing the what? The contract supply service. And we're assessing the what? The proposed business opportunity, which is the installation of the meat processing plant. So we're assessing both the contract supply service and the installation of the meat processing plant. So we can just merge that together and then bring make it into one, combine it together and just form a particular heading. So you have the assessment of the contract supply service, pardon me, and the installation of the meat processing plant, right? So you can use any other heading, like I said, any other heading. This not even not it's not necessary that you write the requirements and then you follow through, but it's just a good way because there's a lot of tension. You have so many things to do. You cannot just be spending 20 minutes thinking of a particular suitable heading. So that's just a very good way to coin a heading. So just ensure that it's encompassing in that sense. It covers all requirements. So since we have talked about the introductory part, let's just dive into how it looks. So this is how you start your financial data analysis. So you start with a heading. And I've said the heading is the assessment of the contract supply service and the solution of the meat processing plant. Then you can just give a little introduction. Here you have the contract supply service. The contract supply service from a retail store, the shop, and the solution of the meat processing plant of GFFP. You can decide to write this out. Detoy, farm, and farms product. That's the name of the client, right? That's the name of the client that we're told, the client that we're actually considering. Victory Farm and Farm Products Limited were evaluated. You understand? Were the two contracts that were evaluated. So you can just give a small heading, write whatever you want to write, but don't waste time, please. So when I did my own, I used heading by heading. You may not necessarily do heading by heading. I can just do paragraph by paragraph. But I just decided to do heading by heading just to make it look neat, right? But like I said, any method you are using, just ensure you are fast. You are fast. ICAN exam is not just only about how much you read or how much you know, how much you have crammed. It's about you being smart as well, making right decisions, right? And decisions as to how you can manage time too is actually very, very important. So contract supply service. So the analysis of the terms of the contract revealed that some unfavorable clauses need to be evaluated. Some unfavorable clauses needs to be re-evaluated. So assessing the contract now, there are some clauses that are there that will need to reevaluate because the so many there's so many uncertainties around the contracts. We're not really told word for word what the revenue is. We're not really told word for word what the cost to be, so many terms needs to be evaluated because there's so many unfavorable clauses. Do you understand? So they need to be evaluated. The cost and revenue cannot be holistically computed as not all costs have been accounted for. Now we're actually considering a contract. We didn't even consider all the costs. We didn't consider. Fine, there's some costs that along the way we may not be able to. We may not know that they will actually we may actually incur the costs at the beginning of the project or the contract. But as time goes on, we would actually incur them. Now those ones that we have a miscellaneous expense like section or something. Basically, any miscellaneous expenses or anything that we don't consider, let's just put them there. But we don't have anything like that. We don't really have. There's so many things that we didn't even consider. So there's so many unfavorable clauses. So the contract itself needs to be re-evaluated. The mode of operation of the shop is highly questionable and unethical. Remember that when we're now, let's go back to the requirements. Let me show you something here. We're asked to do what discuss broader commercial and ethical considerations, as well as the risk that may be associated with accepting or venturing into this project. So you are supposed to discuss the commercial and ethical considerations and also the risk. I mean, to don't forget to also do that as well. So now, the mode of operation of the shop is highly questionable and unethical, especially the repackaging of especially the labeling of GFFPs locally. Let's put as GFFPs locally locally produced goods as imported. So we were told that GFFP is actually repackaging their locally produced goods and they are calling it imported goods. So this is an unethical behavior, right? I know we're told to look at rather, pardon me, we're told to look at the unethical consideration. We're supposed to consider unethical behaviors and all of that, commercial risk and all of that. So this is actually very, very highly questionable and unethical because why would they be packaging like now you produced bread in Nigeria, you now package it, you now say made from India. Like that's totally unethical, right? It's totally questionable. Why would they do something like that? They're deceiving people. Yes, that's the thing. And it's unethical. That's against business policies and everything. And the repackaging of unsold goods, DFFP self, they are not without blame or without um what's the English now we're going to use? They're not without scolding, but I have to scold them as well because they too, the unsold goods, they are repackaging it for resale as fresh goods. Let's say fish. Let's see. Let's not even say fish because fish is highly perishable, right? So let's say they are making eggs. No, they're doing DFFP. That's Detoy Farm and Farm Products. I know a farm products is poultry, right? And eggs is like poultry. So let's say eggs now. Eggs that they didn't, probably the chicken, actually they process the eggs and everything on Monday, and nobody, they have sold everything on sold goods as at Friday, as at the end of work, end of close of work rather, as at the close of work on Friday. They now repackage that say fresh eggs, and they put it, is it fresh? The eggs that are almost 5 days ago. Do you understand? They're repackaging it and they are selling it as fresh. Nobody's telling you don't resell your product. Nobody's telling you throw away your eggs. But why are you deceiving people? Why are you telling people that it's fresh when it's actually not fresh? So all these things are questionable. All these things are unethical, and there's also a risk. This is also risky because if the customers discover, remember they told us that we should actually consider the risk that is associated with this product, right? This is actually very very risky because if the customers discover that DFFP, that's Digital Farm and Farm Products, they're repackaging unsold, unfresh goods and they're calling it fresh, they can switch to substitutes, they can switch to competitors, and the reputation of the company can be affected because if people start carrying it around, blogs start carrying it along that, oh, DFFP, they're into this kind of unethical behavior, it can affect their reputation. So venturing into this business, they actually have to consider all this risk because and all this unethical behavior. So that's not, so now you have actually addressed, they have analyzed the contract. But in this case, now we cannot really determine so many things about the contract because they didn't really give us so many figures. I said in my previous video that as an accountant, you are allowed to make realistic assumptions, right? But in a situation whereby they know that you don't even have so many figures, it's a different thing that you're making assumption. Like I explained, that if you determine that okay, probably net present value is the most appropriate tool that you should use, or they even tell you there that analyze this using net present value, and you have outflows, you have inflows, you have scrap value, you have working capital, you won't have number of years, but you don't have cost of capital. Like you need to say, okay, oh, assuming a cost of capital of 10%. Let's say you have every other thing, you don't have years. You can say assuming that number of years of the contract is 5 years. Now it's a different thing than assuming just a little, yes, I'm just chipping in something. But now you don't have outflow, you don't have inflow, you don't have scrap value, you don't have almost everything. How do you know what to start assuming? That is an example of this contract supply service. They did not basically just give us information that we could not really compute. So we cannot really ascertain, okay, go for this project. So in this case, that they have to sit down, reevaluate the project, reassess the project again. Even the unethical behavior that I'm doing is just everything just looking all wobbly wobbly. So they have to actually sit down and actually look at this thing again. Do you understand? So that's what, so we have actually addressed the question, and we also looked at the commercial, the ethical terms, the risk and everything. We also considered this here. So the second contract or second proposal now is the installation of the meat processing plant. In this case, now we're giving data. We could calculate, we could compute, right? So the installation of the meat processing plant was appraised using the net present value. So tell us what was the tool you used. That's the first thing. What was the financial tool you used? Now we didn't talk about any financial tool when we we're looking at the contract supply service. Like I said earlier, they didn't give us information. So we told them go back and reevaluate. Do you understand? Now, but in this case now, so look at what is the what? The tool, the tool that was used to appraise. Talk about it. So now that's the first thing. What is the tool that was used to appraise? In this case, now it was net present value. Then what did you determine? I mean now, what was now the expected revenue was computed using probabilities, and the revenue amounted to 27.75 million. So what those that data that was given, what did you actually determine? Now we calculated an expected value because no, when you have the figures, you have estimates, you have probabilities. If you multiply the probabilities by the estimates, right? You have a what? Expected value. And now in this case, now we have expected revenue of 27.75 million. The negative net present value now, after computation, after looking at the outflow, the inflow, the scrap, everything, we saw that we have a what? We have a negative net present value. Now, the negative net present value indicates that the proposed project is not viable, and DFFP should not that we did not just jump to say DFFP don't undertake this project. We explain why. Because what? The project has a negative net present value, which indicates that it is not viable. So the company should do what? They should not undertake it. However, no conclusion has been reached on this. Now, you are talking about what? The risk, I should say, you're talking about the negative side. So, like I said earlier, don't just be one way. Look, it should not be accepted, but how about the other way? Now, however, no conclusion has been reached on this because the reliability of the probabilities that were used to determine the expected value is questionable. So there's high possibility that the project will eventually be viable. Do you understand? It may actually be viable. It may actually have a positive NPV. Probably if they review the what? If they review the next present value, if they review the probabilities, pardon me. So they're using probabilities. That means it's still wobbly wobbly. I'm using the word wobbly wobbly, right? So wobbly wobbly is like how will I explain? It's even an English word. It's basically still shaking. It's not certain. In that sense, it's not certain because we cannot really come to a conclusion that okay, this is the final year and amen because we're using probabilities and probability is a game of chance, 0 or 1, right? So they actually need to still have it that okay, let's still wait. Fine, as of now, analyzing the project using the probabilities that we're given, it is not viable. But the company should still consider actually checking other them reassessing the probabilities, or probably even if the carbon actually gets the revenue or reassessing the revenue in that sense, the project can actually become viable. So now that's just it. So we're looking at the two sides. Then after you talk about that, you conclude there are so many uncertainties. There are so many uncertainties in the contract supply. Therefore, the contract needs to be assessed, reassessed. Abino, they need to reassess it, just like we said earlier. They need to reassess it. They need to the unethical behavior of the shop and the FFP also needs to be addressed. They need to address their unethical behavior. That thing they're doing is not good. The meat processing plant is not viable as it shows the negative present value. However, a revaluation of the probabilities used to compute the revenue derived from the installation of meat, uh, the revenue derived. However, a re-evaluation of the probabilities used to compute the revenue derived from the installation of meat processing plants can make the project viable. So we're telling them that they should consider the probabilities. Probably it's the probabilities that is actually making the project not to be viable. So we're looking at both sides, the positive and the negative in that sense. And you give recommendations. So this is just an example. Okay, what do you recommend? Now the first thing is that the contract supply terms should be reassessed. I mean, now they should reassess the contract supply terms. So you're telling them, I recommend though, you guys need to reassess this your contract supply terms because it's not really looking okay. They can tell them to the management of GFFP to address the packaging of unsold item. It's not good. It's an unethical behavior. Fine, they may not be able to control um other people. Do you understand? But they should try and reassess the repackaging of the unsold items, the unsold items. And DFFP is our client, and we can talk to DFFP. Do you understand? So we can tell DFFP, you guys should reassess it too. But we might not necessarily be able to control the shop, which is the person that our client is trying to consider because those ones are like, oh, we don't have it. The shop did not come to meet us. So we cannot really recommend to them in that sense. It's not as if you recommend to them is a bad thing, no, but we are concerned about our clients. So we're giving recommendations to our clients. We are concerned about our clients' well-being. If other people want to be unethical, but our clients, we're concerned about them. But not that if you recommend for them to is a bad thing or something. But let's just focus on our clients because that's the person that's going to pay us money. In that sense, do you get? So the installation of the meat processing plant should not be accepted because because it gives a what a negative net present value, right? The revaluation of the probabilities used to compute the revenue from the installation of the meat processing plant. So there should be a revaluation. They should reevaluate it, right? They should reevaluate it. So these are just recommendations. There are other things I cannot do. So this is just basically, let me zoom in so that you can see how it's. I'll be zoom out rather. Let me zoom out so that you can see how it looks. So this is how it looks. You have a heading, right? Then can also listen introduction. Then the first requirement, talk about it. The second requirement, talk about it. Then give a conclusion, recommendations. You can talk story. Your own does not have to be as short as this. So, but this just I'm just giving you a sample of how it looks. So this is your financial data analysis. This is how it looks. Then you recommend, you conclude, and you give recommendations. So basically, that's all I have for today. I hope you learned a lot. Did you learn a lot today? Let me know in the comment section, okay? And please hit the subscribe button if you haven't subscribed yet. Like my video, please. Share it to many people. Let them also subscribe. Let them benefit from it. And turn on the notification bell. So, in the next class, we'll be looking at other practical examples, like a full report, how it looks. I'm going to be showing that so that you can understand. Because now, if you look at this now, in this case now, how I derived some figures, how I came to some conclusions, I didn't actually show it because we didn't show the appendix part. And that's because in this class, we're just looking at how a financial data analysis is. I actually did my computations already. But since we're talking about financial data analysis in this class, that was why I actually just did not want to bother you because no appendices are in that section already. So don't worry about that. If you're like, oh, how did she get negative? Oh, how did she get this figure? How did she get that figure? How did she arrive at this? Don't worry at all. I'm going to be doing a video where I'm going to put everything together. So are you anticipating already? So anticipate, okay? Turn on the notification bell so that you will know when I post that video, okay? So don't worry, I'm going to post it. You're going to understand everything. Everything will come together. I'm sewing everything together for you. Don't worry, on this channel, just follow through. You will ace ICAN exam. Just like me, to God be the glory. I was able to ace my ICAN exams all levels in one sitting, and I've come with the full package to help you. All right, so I'll see you in my next video. Don't forget to subscribe and like. Bye.